On this week's show, we go Westworld, where life is not so peaceful.
Keith tells us about The Incredibles 2, a film that he's seen and we haven't.
We talk some bullshit about the Star Wars casting.
They said they weren't going to bring back Leia. They said that they weren't going to recast the actress. They said that they weren't going to use CGI. I call bullshit. And then we have a serious conversation about James Gunn.
So stay tuned.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, gamers, geezers, geeks, people who like Star Wars, people who like The Incredibles, people who think they're androids that are think that they're cowboys that think that they're real, but they're not real because they're androids.
Hairless
Wookiees and controversial people. It's this week's Monkey Nut Punch podcast. And, as always on these podcasting journeys, I've got my friend Nigel. Say hello, Nigel.
Yeah, hello.
And for the second time this year, it's Keith.
You said the third time. It's going back in numbers now. It's going down. You know, for the first time this year, it'll be next week. Fuck off the pair of you.
For the first time ever.
Well, maybe for the first time, he might contribute to the podcast. All right, no, I'll rephrase. Contribute something decent. Good to have you back, mate.
You're really glad,
mate.
You're really glad that we're
I'm glad you're here.
Oh, you supportive fuckers, you.
Yeah. All right, guys. On the rundown this week, we'll be talking about Season 2 of Westworld, The Incredibles 2, some Star Wars news. We will dip our toes into the controversy surrounding James Gunn. And hopefully we won't put you off because it'll be just a tad political. I don't think it'll be hugely political, but I know people find that stuff off-putting. So if you don't want to listen to it, we'll put a warning, and you can just not listen to it because we know that stuff that ain't fun. So I didn't watch Westworld Season 2, sorry, but you two mugs did. So
You watched the first episode, but kind of missed out.
No, I watched the first 20 minutes. I watched the first episode, in the first 20 minutes, I found it painfully boring. It was like the first episode of Dexter Season 3, and I didn't have the patience to power through.
There's a couple of reveals towards the end of that first episode that all of the parks are on an island somewhere in Asia, and that Delos, I think is the name of the company that bought the entire island off them. And that there are, I think, 5 or 6 parks, I can't remember, but all the parks are on this island.
Is there a dinosaur park there with dinosaur androids?
No.
Oh, that's not
there
interesting.
There is an Indian park, so we get to see, I think it was called Shogun World, I think.
Yeah.
And the East, I think it was called, was the name of the park, which is sort of set in colonial India. Yes. So we saw that one, and Westworld. Was there any others that we got to see? I don't think we did.
No, just those 3
parts. So yeah, they're all on an island. So they're all sort of connected to each other with boundaries, because at one point we see one of the characters run from the East Park over into Westworld.
Okay.
So there's some interesting little tidbits in that first episode, but it is quite slow. And there are some very slow episodes. I don't know how you found it, Nige, but the episode with the Apache, or the Indian, as in red Native American, was incredibly dull. Even though there was quite a few things in there, I found the whole episode, because it was all done in a different language as well, and it was just it was painful, that episode.
Yeah, I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to show basically what happened to Thandie Newton's character, where it was a season-long thing of her finding out the reality of what she's in, which led her to the point of the start of the second series where she's fully, awake. They tried to condense that into one episode with this Native American Indian, and yes, and because of that, it was fucking slow, really, really dull, and it shouldn't have been. Yeah, I see. He was finding himself, and he kept trying to find his missus. Found out that actually she was taken away, just like the other old woman's son was taken away, and then he found them when he went exploring inside. When he actually got taken, didn't he? That's when we find out that hosts only get updated when they're dead in the park. When they die in the park, that's when they get updated. When they're sitting in their chair, they get an update, and they decide not to update him, don't they? They said, "Oh,
yeah,
he's one of the originals. He's not been updated. That means he hasn't died in fucking ages. Good host, sort of thing." Yeah. And that's when he found out where the hosts go when they're taken from them and they're replaced. And because he's sitting there going, "Oh, I sort of realised that the people are getting replaced here, and they're still doing the same job as what my missus was doing, and what that woman's son was doing." And he was realizing they're not the same person, but they're doing the same actions and they're doing the same things and saying the same stuff. And then he also realizes that bloke, his mum, is also original, and she hasn't changed, and she's noticed it too, because they have that little conversation. And then he tells her later that he's found them.
So
yeah,
I mean,
it was boring, but there was a reason behind it. And
yes,
now
I
you know the
reason
reason
behind
why.
it, but
you know the reason why he is what deemed to be attacking Thandie Newton's daughter in that cabin.
But it took an entire episode to explain that, and I think that could have been condensed down.
It could have. Well, yeah, I think there was a lot.
What's the name of the kick-ass? The one, the blonde one in the blue dress.
Dolores.
Oh,
Dolores.
Yeah, Dolores.
Right. So
sorry, I don't know anything, but I do know that.
Yeah. The big reveals where Dolores was the one that created the what's his face glasses Bernard. She created Bernard. So when you see all of these bits where Bernard is sitting down with her, talking to her, and he's in the suit, it's actually, in the first season you think it's him training Dolores, but it's Dolores training Bernard. So Dolores creates Bernard. But here's the thing. The crux of all... So the two big reveals is that Dolores creates Bernard, but the hosts think they know what they've been created for, and Thandie Newton's character and Dolores think they know why they exist, but it's all bollocks. Because the real reason they exist is that Delos is trying to obtain immortality. And the park has been created not for people to go and play, but to record every interaction that humans have with the robots. The robots are as offset. What they're really interested in is all the data, and the data is being used to create, well, basically download human brains into hosts and then, in effect, achieve mortality. That is basically the entire crux of season 2.
Yeah, then he was like, "Well, how are you downloading this data?" He said, "You put a hat on at the start, don't you? It's in the hat."
So you actually missed probably the best 30 minutes of the entire season, because you said you missed the last 30 minutes of the thing. Well, in that last 30 minutes, did you get to the point where Dolores gets her head blown to pieces? in the data gathering room.
In the data gathering place, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember that.
Dolores gets her head blown up, and then they all come in to capture Bernard.
Yeah.
And the English black girl is Dolores.
Yes.
So, yes, you got that bit. So Dolores gets off the island. And it ends with her resurrecting Bernard, even though she knows that Bernard is going to do everything to stop her. But, chalk and cheese, she says there has to be an adversary, blah, blah, blah. And then it kind of ends. But in a Marvel style post-credit scene, Man in Black, what's his face, wakes up in the room where you see Delos wake up. And then there's another person sitting there asking him the same questions as he was asking the Delos host character. And then it just ends. It's like,
Delos is that old bloke, isn't it, with the goatee?
Yeah, he was the one that started the project to try and obtain mortality.
And then you realise they actually did a reveal where, you see in the first series, is it even the first episode, where you got the quite shy, kooky bloke who's going into the park for the first time with this guy who's a bit brash and outlandish and stuff like that, and he ends up trying to save Dolores and all that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
Then you see him in series 2. He's trying to test the Delos host, isn't he?
If you're about to say that's the reveal where we know he's the Man in Black, that's episode 10 of season 1. They reveal it there as well. They I think it's later on in the end where they call him by his name.
Because I can't remember. Honestly,
Anthony
can't remember
Hopkins
seeing it.
calls him by his name. And then everybody was like, yeah, I was right, because that was one of the big theories around season 1.
Because
here...
it was with this season, it's time hopping quite a lot in the same episode. It jumps back and forward so often, and with the same character and the same character being Bernard, for example. And he's almost wearing exactly the same stuff, and so you don't actually know if you're in the past or in the future, or if you're in the present. You do not know which bit's happening at this time because there's no clue.
In season 1, in season 1, each timeline was following one character, not that you knew it, and it was the Man in Black. It was just in different parts of his existence. So the whole of the first season was around him. Not that you knew it until right at the end, but it was one of the big fan theories that they got correct. Season 2, what links all of them is Bernard, or at least you think you do until the very last 30 seconds of that Marvel sting, because what that effectively hints at is that there's been a fourth timeline, or a fourth one that nobody really realized, and that the Man in Black, who was always a host in the original movie, and people are going, no, he's a host, and everything said, no, he's a human, and you think he's a human right up until that scene, and then you're like, oh, has he been a host like all along? And
that's
what that scene heavily hints at.
Right. Yeah, because
so
you couldn't really tell. And you couldn't really tell. He took a ton of damage in this series. He got beat up bad, not by one person, by quite a few different.
Shot God knows how many fucking times. I mean,
and he's still moving, still walking, and it does sort of hint that he's not actually human, because the only other people who have done that are the hosts. Because all the other humans who got shot like once or twice have died.
The argument was he was based on Yul Brynner's character from the movie, and Yul Brynner looks a bit like.
Hang on a second. There's an easy way of describing Yul Brynner for Nigel. Yul Brynner is the equivalent of the T-Rex in Jurassic Park.
really short arms?
No, it's not got really. He's the one
He-
doing the
he looks-
chasing and the scary shit.
He looks a bit like you, Nice, just a bit taller.
Fuck off.
All right, a lot taller, but but yeah, I mean, you
I
look at
reckon
Ed
I could
Harris.
get on a horse.
Yeah, with
I
a
could jump pretty
step
high.
ladder.
Cheeky
But no,
bastard.
seriously, your Brenner looks a bit like Ed Harris, and everybody right at the beginning thought this guy is a host, and then it was revealed that he was human, and now it's basically double bluffing, going no, actually he's a host, or he is the reincarnation, or the whatever you want to call it, the downloads, the
Yeah.
immortality has kind of worked, and that he might be deliberately sabotaging Delos. And there is a hint towards that because Anthony Hopkins obviously makes a return in one of those brain stone marble things, because the brains are in a little white case, which you see towards the end of that first episode. You finally see their brains, and they're a little marble in a little white thing. And the marble that Anthony Hopkins is in a different color, which they purposefully point out is in a different colored marble to all the other ones. Now, he doesn't break down. He doesn't lose it. And they make a point that Delos goes mad, and there's like 117 incarnations of the same thing, and each one has failed, because in the end, he goes bonkers. Anthony Hopkins never goes bonkers, and he's existed in there for a long time. So I think that final scene hints at the fact that Delos was deliberately sabotaged, and they have actually achieved what they were setting out to do.
Now, I can't remember the Man in Black's name, but he had a bit of a story arc as well, because you finally meet his daughter.
Supposedly
her daughter, and they show you a little bit of not backstory, a bit of backstory outside of the park at fundraising events where he's got his wife and daughter at a fundraiser, and his wife is a bit of an alcoholic, and it sounds like she has always been a bit of an alcoholic, and they send her rehab and all that sort of bollocks, And she kills herself. His wife kills herself, and this is only after she's trying to get in there with him to make sure that he's aware that she is who she says she is. And you mentioned somebody moved from one part to the other part. It was her. It was his daughter who did that, and she could even speak Native American with the guy with the paint and all that stuff. And matey boy, who she was with, said, "Oh, you spend a lot of time in this park," and she's like, and you don't know why up until a bit later. Well, yeah, there's a reason. Her fucking dad owns the place, sort of thing. But you saw her, the way she, the way she finds out if somebody is a human or a host. Do you remember that in India?
No, go on.
Because they're how are they coming? I can't remember if they're on a boat or something like that, but they're in a hotel. Yeah, they're in a hotel before they're going to do an excursion. Before they jump on the elephants and go for a ride and stuff, and they got to know each other, and she's thinking, "Oh, you're not a program, are you?" And he's like, "No, I'm not a program." And she's like, "Okay, we need to prove it." Literally, she's going, "I need you to prove it before we get laid." Yeah, I'm not shagging some host. And she says, "I'll shoot you with this gun. If you're a host, you'll die. If you're not, it'll just sting a little bit." And he's like, "I'm not so sure about this." Goes along with it anyway, gets shot. Do you remember it now?
Yeah, because it can't.
Because it can't penetrate, yeah. And,
Yeah.
he's fine, he's human and stuff. And then they go, they bump uglies and whatnot. And then the next day they go off on their little excursion on the elephants. And this is right at the start of, this is coinciding with the time that Hopkins' character, forget his name, he is about to set Dolores off and chain reaction throughout the park for them to go a little bit rogue. So they're on their trip, they get off their elephants, and they're about to go into a tent. These two that are both human and aren't uglies, and they go in there, and they're looking around, and all of these people are dead. And the guy's like, "Yeah, don't worry, they won't shoot us. We're human." And she's saying, "No, you don't understand. These are the people I came in on the train with." As he's running out to confront somebody, and she's like, "Don't go out there," and he fucking gets shot and dead. And she's like, "Oh shit, I'm getting the fuck out of it, man," and bolts it. And then she's running, runs into a fucking Bengal tiger, and then has to run even more. Finally gets into one of these. Each park seems to be separated by a huge body of water. She gets into the water and swims and gets away. Yeah. Finds a way into Westworld. But hey, so that's when you find out that they're all connected and there's different worlds. I did enjoy the Shogun world.
Yeah,
though.
I was about to say that was probably my favourite episode of the whole season. I loved
one or two. No, it's one. Yeah, no,
it was one and a bit.
One and a bit.
But the guy in that was in that film with the really dodgy Asian film of Keanu Reeves in it. The retelling of what was it called?
The Wall of China.
No, something Ronin.
47 Ronin.
Yeah, the guy in that was kind of playing the same character as he is in Shogun World, and it was a bit of a nod. But I loved that entire episode. I thought that episode was epic, and I liked. But I'm sort of really interested in the technology, how you can go from winter and everything, how they're doing all of that, and you never see any of that really, and how they're terraforming the park. But
that the thing I like does tell you, because Thandie Newton's character sort of starts to realise that she can control.
Yes,
wirelessly.
That's the bit. Yeah.
So yeah, it played a part. It wasn't just shoehorned in to show you another part of the park. It's where she starts to figure out that she can wirelessly control other hosts with what she realizes, actually, I can't control these people, and she can't figure out why. And it's because she wasn't speaking the language that they've been programmed with. They were speaking Japanese, she was speaking English, and that's why she couldn't control them. And then she's sitting there going, we're all programmed with different languages depending on the patrons who come in to the park. So obviously if they get Japanese or Chinese or German, they can talk to them in their native language. And so she switches to Japanese. And then she realizes, now I can control everyone.
It's the bit where she has the showdown with the Shogun master. That's pretty fucking cool, because he's a bit of a nasty bastard. And she's like, the way she's like, I am going to kill you. And he's like, yeah, whatever, woman, blah, blah, blah. And then she just fucks them all up. And that bit where she's walking with the fucking sword out of it, and they're just all fucking dead and sliced to fuckery. That is quite cool. I did like that little team up and everything. And the fact that they realise that the characters in Shogun World are just basic carbon copies of the Westworld characters, just in a different setting. And like when they meet each other and everything,
the exact same story was playing out. They were coming into town, to take the safe, and which is exactly what you see in the first episode of Westworld. First
same
episode.
Narrative, just in a different.
Exactly same narrative. And the guy who wrote the stories, I forget his name, he's even there going, "What?" And the woman and Thandie goes, "Oh, you plagiarised this." She went, "I can't plagiarise myself."
Yeah, no, it's great. And I love his story in the season. I love his whole story and how he is. He goes through that sort of story of how bad he is and how nasty he is, and at the end he gets that he kind of does good in the end by sacrificing himself. But it's a very good story for him throughout the whole of the season.
And he wanted to go out with the speech that he wrote for Matey Boy.
Yes.
He was about to start, he went, "No, I wrote that. I'm going to say it. You fuck off and take her to safety," sort of thing. And he goes, "You sure?" Yeah. And then he starts screaming out at the park guards and says that speech that he wrote.
I mean, I think to finish off, because we've been banging on about this for ages,
Yeah.
There have been a lot of complaints about it being a bit boring, and season 2 definitely has pacing issues. It definitely has.
Yeah.
You have to kind of. It's a pleasure pain theory. You have to go through a lot of pain to get the pleasure bit, but each episode does have key reveals, and they all do kind of come together in the end. It's very complicated, over complicated at times.
Yeah. Especially with the time hopping.
Yeah, the time hopping gets a bit fucking too much in this. But that final episode is pretty pucker. And it does kind of leave you wanting more, that final thing. And that bit with the man in black at the end, William, you're kind of like, okay, what the fuck is going on? So I need to watch season 3. So I have to go through it all again, probably, to know if I'm right or not.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it was good. I did enjoy it. You're right. Pacing was an issue. I think they could have probably done with maybe 8 episodes, not 10, and condensed it down a little bit. So, and also give you some sort of hint around when they are sort of looking back. Maybe, especially with Bernard, because he was wearing the same clothes in the past, present, and future, and so you couldn't tell what point in time you're looking at and what bit you're watching. It's only 10 minutes later you're looking at going, oh, that must have been, and the things moved on, and you're going, oh shit, so where are we now then?
They kind of did that in season 1, but because of the fan theory going on that William was the man in black, people kind of guessed that you were massively time jumping and were able to track it a bit more than you do here. And it's only in the final sort of moments of that last episode that all 3 timelines suddenly make sense. And it does leave you a bit confused. And the trouble is, you're tracking it or trying to track it. Then you get these episodes in the middle which just completely cut it off, like the Shogun episode, which was fantastic. But it fucked with the pacing, as did the Native American episode, which completely dicked with the pacing. And that, I can see why it confused people and pissed them off.
They could have done that native,
but it could have been cut down.
They could have moved that like right near the beginning.
Yeah.
Episode 1, 2, trim it right down, make it like he was trying to save the little girl, just like Thandie Newton's character was trying to save the little girl. They should have shown that near the beginning rather than get about 4, 5 in and then do it, because you fucked with it. You fucked with the time hop. You fucked with everything. And the only time that you find out that he is properly remembering back to what happened rather than it being now or later was when he's when Bernard's with the tech girl that he choked out and left in a cave.
Yeah, that's quite good.
He's going, oh yeah. But hey, yeah. Anyway,
that was interesting. Go on.
I'm looking forward to season 3. I'm hoping at some point it comes back onto Sky so I can watch the last 30 minutes because, I was late to the party to watch it, and I watched so many in a short space of time just to try and.
I think season 3 will be the final season because I think each season's had a distinct thing, and I don't see how you can drag it on much more. I think do one final season and then knock it on the head, and then it will be quite encapsulated and well done. But if you carry it on beyond that, I don't see what you can do. But I might be wrong, but I think if you drag it on beyond another season, it will just end up people get fed up. Anyway,
get fed up. Don't do something stupid like going, right, we're going to go to this is England world. This is France world. Now we're going to go to Germany world.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Oh, this is Disneyland world. So yeah, let's not do that. Let's just keep it to the 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Enjoyed it. If you can cope with the pacing issues and the time hopping, make notes of when you think what is when, and you might refer to it when you're watching the thing. Then you'll be all right.
Yeah. Right, G, what are we talking about next, mate?
The Incredibles 2, which I haven't seen, so...
And I've not seen. I wanted to see,
All right.
but not.
So you're going to have to sell it to us.
It's quite good. It's quite good. Jack, the baby, is very much the star of this.
Is he still a baby like he is in the first one, or has he grown a bit?
And you see all of his abilities, and the funniest moments are with Jack. And me and my wife, when we saw it, we were just wetting ourselves every time Jack was on screen because it's brilliant. It's not as good as the first one, but it's not bad. It's certainly.
Why do you think that?
Because the baddie isn't as compelling. The baddie very early on is obvious who it is, and it doesn't work. And it's not because it's a woman. It just doesn't work. And the other thing that's slightly, because they've left it so long, the mother, who is played by, can we remember her name?
Holly Hunter.
There are points in this where you can hear Holly Hunter's age, because she's kind of, she's got to be in her 50s, early 60s now. You can hear the age in her voice, and there are parts where she's talking and you're looking at this young, attractive mum on the screen and the voice doesn't tally. Do you know what I mean?
Kinda.
And
yeah, she's 60 now, isn't she?
There are parts when you can hear her age, and you just wish they kind of digitally tuned that slightly. And I mean that it just jars with what you're seeing. But it's very funny. It's very Pixar. I enjoyed it, but not quite as much as the first one. The first one, I think because they don't use the kids as much in this, they kind of, it's all about the adults and the kids don't come into it as much. And Jack's very much the scene, so he steals the show. You don't really have that final family showdown with the bad guy per se, like you did in the first one. And but they've left it open, because the third, it kind of starts where the last one left off. So you got whatever he was called, the mole
thing,
the underminer. He is dispatched with very quickly, but not caught, and then he never shows up again. So you're kind of like, okay, he's coming back. So if they are going to do a third one, it's blatantly going to be him. But I don't know. It just didn't quite do it for me like the first one. There was something about the first one that I really liked. I liked the look of it, the feel of it. I loved the idea of superheroes being banned and everything. And the first one kind of explores that. There's some adult themes there that it explores that are not quite as well done in the second one. But don't get me wrong, there's lots of laughs. It's very enjoyable. The kids will love it. But it doesn't quite do it. I think it's because of the bad guy. The bad guy in the first one was good, and he had a backstory, and you kind of understood why he went batshit crazy more, you know? And in the second one, you really don't. It doesn't really explore her motivations, and that bugged me a bit. And it's very obvious, the twist that's coming, and when it does. So I'd give it 3 out of 5.
Okay. 3 out of 5, considering you said out of 10 scale now.
Yeah.
Out of 5.
Okay, so I'll give it 7 out of 10 then.
Which doesn't tally.
I'll have to watch it with the
4 out of
kids.
5. 6 out of 10. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll be. I want to see it just because it's The Incredibles.
Okay.
So
Keith, you had some Star Wars news in regards to casting.
well, they've announced episode 10 casting, because it starts filming in the next week or two. No surprises that Mark Hamill is back. We knew he was. It was kind of obvious. The interesting thing, and there was a couple of comments that have been made this week, and you just think, Carrie Fisher is going to be in this film. And because it's been directed by J.J. Abrams, he has claimed that they're going to use enough footage that wasn't shown, that was shot in The Force Awakens, that they can use. Now, bearing in mind that Kathleen Kennedy said they're not going to use any, they're not recasting her, they're not going to use a CGI model, and they're not going to use any footage, that's kind of been reversed a bit. And the way J.J. Abrams, a couple of comments around the way J.J. Abrams is reusing this footage, almost like many people are not very happy with, or the Disney execs are not overly happy with Episode 8. They haven't said it, but they've kind of hinted at it.
Well, so is Daisy Ridley going to wake up and go, I've just had a horrible dream?
And well, I have a feeling that they brought J.J. Abrams in to basically kind of reset it a bit and undo many of the mistakes of Episode 8, and the fact that Mark Hamill's going to be in it, and he's going to be in it quite a lot, apparently.
As a Force ghost, I can imagine.
Yes, but like it's interesting. I mean, I can't remember the specific comments, but there was a couple of things said this week when you're watching them all being interviewed, and you just think, there's comments being made that, while not directly criticizing Episode 8, not jumping up and around about it. And the other interesting thing is that they haven't really spoken a lot about Rian Johnson's supposed trilogy, because I think that's quietly been dropped, especially after the fact that Solo, which was a better fucking movie than Last Jedi, didn't do very well. And mostly because of The Last Jedi off cuff, really. The sort of pissed offness of this. I think Disney are realizing that actually there are more fans that are pissed off with this than there aren't. There's loads of people criticizing the fans that are angry about this movie and pissed off about it. It's a bad movie. It's just a bad film. And it is a very bad Star Wars film. The people that are trying to like this are kidding themselves. It's that bomber scene right at the beginning. It makes me angry. I mean, I know that some of the stuff in Star Wars is, a bit far-fetched, but fucking come on. It's not a Second World War Lancaster bombers flying over the thing. It's in fucking space. It's nearly as bad as the Doctor Who Spitfires in space.
Okay, just a quick one. They've brought back Clone Wars, haven't they?
Yes.
What was Kathleen Kennedy's first thing that she did when she took over?
Clone Wars.
She cancelled Clone Wars. Doesn't it say that the kind of riding roughshod over her? Maybe they're waiting until this last film to see if they give her the axe. The truth is, I've heard that Bob Iger, the guy in charge of Disney, wants to get rid of her something chronic, but he can't get rid of her because he can't find a fucking replacement because she's poisoned the well for all intents and purposes.
There's definitely some stuff going on behind the scenes. There is definitely some unhappiness about The Last Jedi. There are a lot of people that don't seem to be Rian Johnson fans anymore. I'm certainly fucking not. It is interesting. The casting news had some little. You watch some of the interviews, you'll get what I mean. But it is definitely interesting. The fact that they brought J.J. Abrams back in, love him or loathe him, he had set the plan, and it would appear that Episode 8 just rode roughshod on that, and he's coming back in to reset it. And the fact that he's now using this footage, even though Kathleen Kennedy said they weren't going to do this, means that she's either been overruled or she is being quietly pushed aside, like you say. I think she is. Because I think Last Jedi poisoned the world far more than Disney would like you to believe. And I think a lot of these people that are criticizing the haters are probably people that have been paid by Disney. And Disney are probably hiring companies to say, oh, there was loads of people that like this movie. There was loads of people that like this movie. Everybody I have spoken to, every single one of them did not like this movie. Every one of the people that I know that are Star Wars fans and have seen this did not like this film. There's one person. And even then, I think he was just doing it to wind me up.
I think my kids enjoyed it, but then they know nothing. They're not even old enough. I think they enjoyed it, but I didn't. You ask them why they enjoy something like a film, and they'll just go, explosions.
Oh yeah, we missed out one thing. Sorry, I've suddenly remembered. Lando's back as well, officially.
Just so they can ruin him too.
Billy
D. Williams,
Williams
who they didn't bother speaking to for the first 2 films, and now they seem a little desperate, shall we say? So, it's one of those. It's one of those things. Nige, you saw an Iron Fist trailer.
Yeah. It's out in September 7th. I quite enjoyed the first season. I need to get on and watch the one where Iron Fist is sitting with the other guys. You guys were talking about it. What was that series? He teams up with other people.
Defenders.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
I need to get on and watch that. So I do like Iron Fist. There wasn't much to say about that trailer, though. They didn't really show much.
They showed off. There's a series of stories in Iron Fist called The Immortal Weapons, and what it is there's supposed to be like 7 cities of heaven, where Iron Fist's from, and he's from one of the cities. And there's an 8th city which is more hell-like, shall we say? And a guy comes from that. I can't remember his name, but they refer to him as the Steel Serpent.
Right.
And he gets his powers because each city has like a champion. And that was the guy who was in the first series who kind of reminds me of Ravi from bloody iZombie. He doesn't seem very threatening. It seems very polite and stuff, but it doesn't seem very villainous, which is a bit annoying. But maybe that's the way they're planning on playing it. But given the fact that the last series of Iron Fist, the guy was given 2 weeks to learn martial arts, opposed to the guy who plays Matt Murdock, who was given several months to learn martial arts. I'm hoping that the quality of the fighting will improve, which will be novel.
Iron Fist was the weakest out of all of them. It was crap, and really, the whole season was.
It was rushed. That's why it was crap.
Yeah, and it wasn't great. And he was annoying. He was annoying in Defenders. But having said all of that, in Luke Cage season 2, he was quite good.
He was.
And it's almost like they've done a reset there. But the interesting thing about that second trailer, because one of the things that people loved about the first season of Iron Fist wasn't Iron Fist, it was Colleen, who is in that entire fucking trailer. It's just him and Colleen. She features heavily in that trailer. And I thought, oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I did like her. I thought she was a good character.
I want to see her and Misty Knight team up.
I'm trying to remember. You know the nurse who's in Luke Cage, who's going out with Luke Cage.
Night Nurse.
Yeah, she's in Iron Fist as well.
Fair.
Yeah, she sort of patches him up and stuff. Yeah,
she's done a bunk in Luke Cage, hasn't she? So we don't know if she's coming back or not.
Ah, right.
No, she'll be back in the others.
Well, the rumor is that she's left. That they've dropped her now. So I don't know whether she will be in Iron Fist, but she might be. But I'm holding out a tiny bit of hope that Iron Fist season 2 might be quite good. Tiny bit of hope. Not a huge amount, but a tiny bit.
Do you know what the funny thing is? They've already filmed Daredevil season 3.
3. Yeah.
But this is the weird thing. They filmed it, but instead of putting that out in September, they're going to put out Iron Fist. So he has a really short production time again. So he doesn't get the February slot. He gets the September slot, which I think is a little unfair because he has to rush through his, and Daredevil's like kind of we can take our time.
Yeah, but you see, I don't know. I think because of the way he was quite. His appearance in Luke Cage season 2 was warmly welcomed, and I think they're going, oh, maybe we can save this. Let's push out season 2 and show people. Honestly, we've heard you. We know that season 1 was shit. We've made him less annoying. He's much more likable now. Here he is. Watch, and there's loads more Colleen in it. But really, he was good and he was interesting, and it probably is going to be quite good. But I want Colleen and Misty Knight to team up. I'm saying it. I think that would be a really good show.
He was a bit of a whiny bitch, I'll be honest. He really was.
Yeah, and he was in Defenders as well, but he wasn't in Luke Cage. He was quite good in Luke Cage. But then, as I keep banging on about this, but I'll say this again, so was the Misty Knight and Colleen team up right at the beginning. That was awesome. The way sort of, Colleen comes in and sort of sorts Misty out, and then Misty gets the arm. And it was quite a kick-off. And there was a Misty Knight reference in, I know you don't watch it, but Cloak and Dagger this week. The copper in Cloak and Dagger was based in Harlem, and she directly references her mate Misty this week. Just a little thing.
Okay.
Cloak and Dagger's getting quite good. I quite enjoy that.
I don't know, maybe I'm just... Maybe it was the heat that's kind of put me off a lot of stuff, because I was just a bit hot. Okay. Right. For those who don't like the side of like kind of being a little political, it's not hugely political, or don't like talking about these kind of scandals and stuff, this is where you can jump off, and we will respect the fact that you can jump off now. But for the rest of you, hold on to your fucking trousers. We've got something fucking interesting to talk about. Okay, we're back in. All right, so let's start off. James Gunn got fired over a set of tweets that he put down about, between 9 and 7 years ago. Okay, these tweets resurfaced and then were republished by prominent people on Twitter, to which Disney looked at and said, these aren't kind of family tweets. I think it's time we parted ways, because Disney thrive on the whole family fun kind of image, and if anything is there to disrupt that image, they will disassociate themselves almost immediately. Some of the tweets that he put are very, I wouldn't say offensive, because you take offence rather than having offence given to you, are very poorly tasted, and they also kind of, how can I put it, point towards what I would describe as Savile-esque behaviour, to which I say investigate and just check to be on the safe side. Now, the way that Disney dealt with it, not the way I would have dealt with it, because I don't believe in that sort of stuff. I believe in free speech. Yeah, so that means James can say those things, and I don't think that he should be fired over them. I think he should have been suspended, investigated, forced to apologise publicly, and then brought back on. Yeah, that's how I see it. Yeah, unless the investigation turned up something rather nasty. If the investigation turned over something nasty, then they should turn it over to the police and let the police deal with it. But it should have just gone that route. The same should have happened to Roseanne, and same should have happened to any of the people that have been fired over these stupid tweets and bits. Some of the tweets, if I read them, are really offensive. For you guys, I've sent you links.
I've read them.
I've seen them all.
Right. The first one, the one I didn't send you, was James Gunn tweeting to try and delete his tweets from 2007 to 2012.
Yes. I saw that.
A guy called Mick Wright said that you were tweeting this rather than putting it in the search box, which is unfortunate and made him look very fucking guilty. Now, the most egregious tweet is something he put out, video 100, something touched themselves. I don't even want to say it because I find it slightly disgusting. Now, I can understand that certain people like to be edgy, and I can respect that.
That's not being edgy.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if that's not being edgy or not. As I said, he's free to say it, but that says to me, maybe we should just check he's not a pedo. Just to be safe.
It's not one or two either.
Here's the thing. The guy that you mentioned earlier, the head of Disney, put out a statement very soon afterwards, and it's utter fucking bullshit. Are you seriously telling me that Disney hadn't seen these tweets before they employed him? Because bollocks, didn't they? They saw these. They knew about these tweets. I don't for 1 second believe they didn't. These tweets were out there. These tweets are public. The fact that they've come to light, I think somebody's out to get James Gunn. And you might be right. It might be somebody who is trying to say, oi, look at this guy. But for Disney to say, to almost claim they didn't know about this, it's utter bullshit. Well, they knew about this.
From Bob,
and now they...
Hang on a second. From Bob Iger's perspective, he ain't looking at those fucking tweets, is he?
But he knew about them.
He might not. It might be one of those things that are kept from
He
him.
knew about Gareth. A company like Disney, they check these things. They do. They have an entire fucking department that checks this. So either somebody has been really, and I do mean really fucking incompetent, or it's bullshit, that statement, and they knew about it. I'm not entirely convinced he shouldn't have been fired, because I agree with you. I believe in free speech, but these tweets, he's just a twat.
He's being an edgy boy, I think is the...
That's not edgy. That's not edgy. I mean, we like to have a laugh and a joke. We laughed, or I laughed, and I think you did as well, at the pug video. There was something funny about that. 3 men and a baby they had sex with is just not even funny. There is nothing funny about that at all. It's not edgy.
I don't know.
Yeah, I've read all of the tweets, and not one of them is even remotely funny. Or I can't understand where there's humour in them. So if it's not funny, why are you tweeting stuff like that? It's not even remotely funny. Who finds this shit funny?
He's trying to be edgy. That's what it is.
I know he's trying to be funny. Back then, he was meant to be a comedic writer, or trying to be. If you're writing shit like that, no.
I'll give you an example of edgy. Frankie Boyle is an edgy comedian. He says stuff that can be taken offensively, but usually it's funny. Yeah. That's edgy. This isn't edgy. This isn't funny. It's just fucking dumb. Yeah. It's somebody who's going, oh, I'm going to be edgy. But every one of them, I mean, the rape one is... but all of these, I mean, okay, all the ones here are pointing at one thing, and there are other tweets. There was lots of rape tweets and stuff like this, but people have picked out all of the ones that would make him look like a pedo. And we have to remember that these tweets came out for a reason, and there's the stuff that we are not seeing that's going on. Maybe somebody's got it in for Gunn. Yeah, maybe somebody is pointing a finger.
I think that people have got it in for Gunn ever since he tweeted about Roseanne Barr being fired for the comments she made about that woman. I can't remember her name now. And the Planet of the Apes thing. And then when you look into the Planet of the Apes thing, you can see where she was coming from. You can see the context of it. It was in poor taste. But as I said before, my rules say you're allowed to say that. My rules say that you get suspended from work for a period of time while they investigate, and you don't get your pay. You get suspended without pay naturally, and then they investigate, and then if there's something, adverse there, they fire you. If there isn't, then you're forced to apologise and go back to your job. But that's my standard, though.
You see, here's the thing, right? In Roseanne Barr's case, she made a racist tweet. Regardless of whether we like this or not, she made a racist tweet. And in this day and age, you can't do that. Firing her? I don't think the studio had a choice. And in that particular case, she did it there and then, and the studio immediately reacted. There's something stinks in the James Gunn case of hypocrisy. Something stinks here. I don't for a second believe Disney didn't know about this. I just don't. I don't buy it. And And I think what's his face, because the guy micromanages everything. If you know anything about the guy that runs Disney, he micromanages stuff. He kind of reads everything. If he asks for an investigation into somebody he's likely to employ in a high-profile job, he knows about it. He knew about these. There is no way he didn't. And if he didn't, then he should be fired. He should be fired as well. Because if he didn't know about these, you ain't doing a very good job. You are not doing your job. You are not protecting the brand. And let's face it, Disney is a huge fucking company. You didn't know about this. So you made a choice. You made a choice to go forth with this guy, and he made one brilliant movie, one okay movie. Firing him now, yeah. I mean, there's now rumors going around that they're bringing back.
Personally, because of the family side of it and those jokes, if you were putting him in charge of, if it was like they were bringing him back at Fox to do like something adult, like the Predator film or Aliens or something like that, then yeah, but family orientated stuff, kind of just keep him away from the kids, sort of bit. But
I think that's. So I think you're right. I think he does need to be investigated. But again, it's funny. He tweeted a hell of a lot, and I think deleting those tweets was probably a bad idea actually, because somebody has cherry picked these. Don't forget that.
Oh yeah, of
to
course.
Support a narrative.
Well, the long and short of it is he supported the Roseanne Barr being fired over the tweets that he made. And someone went, oh, that sounds like a challenge. And they did. They followed through. And it turned into a challenge.
Yeah.
And they dug through his tweets and they found fucking gold. Apparently,
they did.
Apparently on the 4chan board, they are looking at, I think it's 4 people in Hollywood that they suspect to be paedophiles. James Gunn was on that list. Patton Oswalt was on that list. Ron Perlman, who I haven't heard anything about anything recently, is on that list, and Ryan Johnson, which I don't know if was take the piss out of the start.
Ryan Johnson recently deleted 22,000 tweets.
Sounds
been confirmed. He recently removed. Yeah, that does sound fishy.
Just out of curiosity, yeah. If you were to say these things aloud, yeah, in a public space so everybody could hear you, would you?
Even if you were to say those things in front of your close mates, I think they'd turn around and look at you and go, "What the fuck, mate?"
They would.
You see, I don't see anything.
You get an in poor taste comment.
I mean, I make jokes that if they were heard outside, we all do. In a certain group of friends, I have a group of friends that come from different ethnic backgrounds. I think that's the politically correct way of saying it. They have different origins, and we make jokes. All of us, not just me, all of us make jokes that outside the group could be taken out of out of context and seen as racist or whatever you want to say, right? I can't see any way these tweets could be taken in context to be funny. I don't see how anyone could think that is funny.
I know a group.
The three. Well, even then, I don't think they.
The pedos find that funny because it resonates with them.
3 men and a baby. They had sex.
Clearly in there.
I'm all I'm saying is just remember Jimmy Savile and investigate to be on the safe side.
Yeah, but Jimmy Savile never did any of this.
I know.
I mean,
all
I will say is we live in a day and an age where we do live in a day and age where there is fake news, and we're hearing about it a lot in the media at the moment. And without going into any kind of political side of it, these tweets do look like they're cherry picked to support a narrative. And there were other tweets, so there's not the rape one in there that I've seen. There's a load of other ones around rape, and there's a load of other ones around other stuff that were equally as offensive that had nothing to do with this, to do with paedophilia.
So
this was just one of the things that's being thing. whether he was trying to be edgy and thought he was funny and thought he was clever and really he's just a dick, that might also be the case. But there is enough here that I think. Hang on, I think there's enough here that Gareth's right. He should be investigated. Go on.
You do get that all the time where you think, oh, that might be funny, and then you say something, and your mates just look at you and go, "That wasn't funny." He's done that, but he's done it over and 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 over, to the point where it's like, you actually believe what you're fucking saying here, mate, because you keep saying shit in poor taste, and it's not funny to anybody, apart from those one or two people who are fucking retweeting his shit. Who retweets those shit? That's the thing. You can see people have retweeted and liked them. You need people. Whoever's investigating James Gunn into those tweets need to also investigate whoever fucking liked those and retweeted them, because they're obviously fucking kiddly fiddlers as well. So, honestly, I think there's something in it, but it needs investigating to be confirmed. You can't just jump the gun. See what you did there.
Can't jump the James Gunn.
Can't jump the James Gunn into just going straight into, like you say, you've got to be. Just put on administrative leave, suspended without pay, whatever, until the investigation's complete. And that'll drag up evidence of whatever. It might clear you. And say, dude, that's just really shit jokes, mate. Apologise for your shit jokes. We haven't found anything into your past. Yeah, we'll rehire. I'm with you, Gav.
Yeah.
I'm with you as well, but I think Disney also have to carry some of the responsibility here. And the fact that they've tried to distance themselves so quickly, that just stinks. It just stinks.
I don't like that knee-jerk reaction that media companies seem to have at the moment. It should be.
They do, because it's because of the Me Too thing. As soon as Me Too happened and is still ongoing, then it's like, oh, we can't have anything like that. We can't be caught with our pants down. So they jump on it and just go extreme, one extreme to the next. They're doing nothing or they're doing too much. There's some middle ground here that they can go for.
Yeah, it is one of those things. I would have suspended without pay and checked to make sure, because if you just boot him straight off, you have no grounds to say hire a private investigator to check that he isn't. Yeah. And then you have to get the authorities involved. Which, fuck it. Get the authorities involved. But it could just be him being really shit and a horrible human being. That was what it could be. But I can't rule that out. This is a weird thing, because this is actually backs up my argument for free speech, because you wouldn't know about this if he wasn't allowed to say it. Would you? So there's an
this is true.
Free speech.
Do you know what?
Does expose people for who they are.
Do you know what? He's probably got this one friend who he said these lines to, and this same one friend who's got the same shit sense of humour has laughed when he said it out loud, and he's gone, oh, he found it funny, I'll tweet that. And then he's tweeted it and then found out that actually it wasn't funny in the slightest and it was fucking shit joke. You've got the same shit taste in humour, and you've said it to that one person. They've laughed, so you tweeted it.
There's a funny thing here, yeah. There is a guy that he was associated with, who was arrested for paedophilia, and it may be him tweeting to that person. Which then, back to, please investigate, please check. We want to know. We need to know that this isn't something going on wrong. Anyway,
I think there is enough there, but I think it should be done behind closed doors in an investigation. And if the investigation does turn up anything, then made public. And for all we know, it's going on right now. And somebody somewhere is being wise enough to do it behind closed doors.
Okay, if that's the case,
that could explain why Ryan Johnson suddenly, very quickly, deleted 22,000 tweets. So you could be right, but in this day and age, even the sort of mere suggestion of it can destroy somebody's career. And if they don't deserve it, then it shouldn't happen. So I will just say this. It might be going on as we speak. And I think you're right, there's enough here. But on the other hand, just have in the back of your mind, this supports a narrative that somebody wants you to think about. And it might be for a good reason, it might not be.
Yeah. He's not the only one. Rick and Morty creator Dan Harmon, I think I've got the right one, there's two of them. He recently deleted himself off of Twitter because of an old video that he made of him playing around with a baby doll inappropriately. Corey Haim said that Hollywood's biggest problem is probably paedophiles, and I'm coming to the same conclusion that they may have the same problem that infested the BBC, which is making me more worried about stuff because everyone's getting all political and bits, and these people, if their secret gets out, would be very easy to control, and would just wind up crashing, industries and stuff. I find this deeply concerning, and whenever there's a problem like this, just check and just check again to be 100% sure, because it serves two purposes. If there's something there, they're caught and they're dealt with, and if there isn't something there, then they are absolved and admonished of the thing. And it's just I know it's presuming guilt, but I don't see it's presuming guilt. I see it's presuming that we check to be on the safe side, because these people hide. That's kind of their nature.
I think you're right. You're right, and there is evidence on both sides here. Disney's, because it also could be that construed that Disney are very quick to cut ties because there's a lot more going on behind closed doors than we think of, and it might all come out. So, these poor stars this week, Dave, what's his face, Barista or whatever he is,
Batista.
And Batista, who's come out in support, might live to regret that. But anyway, it is what it is, unfortunately. Yeah. Not much more we can really say about it, is there?
Not really a pleasant one this week. But it's one of those things that's going on in the world that kind of affects what's happening. But please check.
To finish on a good note, go and see Mission Impossible 6. It's actually quite good.
They made there's a bit where Henry Cavill is punching through a wall like Superman in that advert, and it looks
kind of.
Yeah. And,
it's a good action movie.
Is it good?
It's a bit more somber than the other one, but actually in a good way. It's got a lot of drama in it. I really enjoyed it. It's very, very good, and see it on the biggest fucking screen you can, because some of the stunts in it are incredible. I still can't watch the fourth one when he's on the fucking side of the what's its face tower in Dubai. I can't watch that. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. But this one is a direct sequel to Rogue Nation, so it's the only one that's ever really been like a continuation on from the other one. It's like the second part, but it's really good. It's better than Rogue Nation.
Okay. What does Tom Cruise strap himself to whilst he's either taking off, going underwater, or hammering along at 100 miles an hour?
He's in a helicopter this time, and it's quite cool. It's quite good because there's bits in it where it actually takes the piss out of itself, and that whole sort of action scene with him in the helicopter does kind of take the piss out of itself a little bit. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Have you got anything to say, Nigel?
Really enjoyed it.
No.
Okay, fair enough. All right.
All good.
Just I think I know exactly where Avengers 4 is going.
What, multiple dimensions?
Yep, and Quantum Realm.
Because you saw thingy.
Do you want? Yeah, I saw Ant-Man today, and the scene at the end kind of fucking says it all.
Okay.
Oh, and I'll tell you one thing. One thing that's really fucking impressive. Michelle, there's a bit they're using the same technology they did in was it Cap America, where they make people look really young, where they made they used it again here. Michael Douglas still looks a bit dodgy, younger, but Michelle Pfeiffer was fucking spot on, and I mean spot on. It was quite incredible, actually, how they made her look really young, and you couldn't really tell it was CGI. It's very, very well done.
Okay, cool. I have to go and see that when it comes out here in the UK because it's been delayed because of the World Cup.
I don't know. It's on another note, Gav, I don't know if it's one that you should wait for DVD, and I'll just tell you what the cutscene is. To be honest, it's probably one of the weakest Marvels, if I'm honest.
Is it? Oh.
I think so. But the cutscene at the end is him going into the quantum realm, and then obviously the click happens, and all three of the people that are controlling, so Pym, wife, daughter, all fucking evaporate into the dust. And he's stuck in the quantum realm. But they mentioned just before he goes into the quantum, be careful if you do this, because you're going to a different dimension and different times. And you just went, oh, that's not saying what's going to fucking happen. Okay. So I have a feeling I think what's his face, Ant-Man, might be in Avengers 4.
Just a little. Was Hawkeye in it?
No, but Hawkeye has a poster that was released, so yes, he's in 4.
Okay, no, I was talking about in...
No, he wasn't in this. No, he wasn't. There's nothing connecting it to the larger Marvel world until that cutscene. Other than mentioning he calls him Cap on what happened afterwards. But it's not as clever as the first one. It's not as funny. And yeah, no, it didn't have the charm of the first one. I think that's what I'm looking for.
Okay.
But Avengers 4, I think, is going to be fucking sweet.
Okay, well, fingers crossed. It will be sweet. I'm a bit worried, but it's going to be a bit timey-wimey, complicated kind of shit, and most people will walk out going, "What? What was that about?"
It's always going to be a bit timey-wimey, but I think they will. It's the Russo brothers, and they haven't really screwed up yet.
No, that's true. Unless we start digging through. Should we start digging through their tweets just to check?
No, please don't. Fucking please don't. Don't destroy my entire fucking entertainment.
Okay. All right. Let's wrap this up, bastard up, and put a bow on it.
Okie dokie.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. Tune in next week when we'll be talking about something else. It's true. I'm not lying to you. Not at all. I'm telling you the truth.
You never know. One of them might actually go and see the film, and ignore me, because Gav and me usually have different opinions on these films. So Gav might love it and actually go and see it and surprise the fuck out of me.
I'll be honest with you. I'm in such a fucking cynical mood when it comes to anything for entertainment wise. No Man's Sky. No Man's Sky has been updated, so it's practically the game that we were sold.
I heard about this. We'll have to talk about this next week. I'll have to download it.
You guys go have a go on No Man's Sky and just have a look at the difference between what it was and what it is now, and it might be good.
I heard it. Yeah, I heard it's multiplayer now.
Yeah, got multiplayer on there.
Yes,
we can team up in groups if we want. We can see each other.
We can finally do a Let's Play Badly.
All three of us, as we're crashing into each other. I do a kamikaze run in my spaceship at you, Keith.
Apparently, all progress that you had before is wiped, and you start afresh.
That's because they've made a new game. They've made the game that they sold us. It's only taken them a year and a half.
2.
Yeah.
Nearly 2 years.
2 years.
And an Xbox release. Mate, people have actually described it as this could have been the sequel to No Man's Sky. But we'll have a look at that. Anyway.
Yeah, at least they haven't sold it as DLC.
Yeah.
And they've just updated the game, which is how it should be.
Yes. I think that's they did the right thing, even though it was slow and fucking painful to get there. They did the right thing.
Yeah, I think they rod for their own back because they didn't come out and say, we're working on it. We couldn't get it in for the release that was we were told that we needed to aim for. We're working on it. It will be patched in. That is the aim. You know, they just went radio silence. They didn't say a single thing and didn't do anything for ages.
Yeah, but hang on. I mean, it was so toxic at that point. But they did go radio silent and then come out with quite a significant update. And they have been. It was a significant update. They have been updating it ever since.
They put a story mode in it.
Yeah.
Which they were missing. So they've got the Atlas path for the story mode. Which should be about 30 hours worth of gameplay, they said. Then they put in creative mode so you can build bases and fuck around. Then they put cars and stuff in, and then they've redesigned the terrain model and then the what's it model. And apparently they're supposed to be doing updates weekly, which I'm really looking forward to try and improve certain things. The creatures are a bit more, how can I put it, less like people have just jammed bits of Lego together because they were a bit ugly, shall we say. Because I literally came across something that looked like a jumping turd with a flower sticking out the top of it. I thought it was a Pokemon. Naturally, I blasted it with laser beams.
And let me guess, 5 minutes later, Nige came running across the screen with his phone going, yes! Finally got a rare one.
Fucking Digimon. I can't remember what is it. Diglett, that's the one that's got a poo. Yeah.
My wife started playing that until she realised she had to walk.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
That was like, no, darling, I walk too much. That's kind of the fucking point of it. Oh dear. Anyway, we really should end this podcast. We should end
it now.
And talk about this more next week.
Okay.
So bye.
It's goodbye from me.
Goodbye.
Keith, say something.
I said bye.
Oh, you fuckwit.
Oh, is that what that noise was?
Thanks for downloading the Monkey Nut Punch podcast. You can follow us on Twitter @Monkey Nut Punch. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/Monkey Nut Punch.